Disclaimer. This is only a video on the original series of the Goosebumps, so 1 through 62. I'm not tackling Series 2000 or Give Yourself Goosebumps. The only things the original Goosebumps series really taught us that siblings are the worst. Segment 1. They just suck. Roman numerals are funny, aren't they? Well, there are some books that only what happens because there are annoying little siblings, like 7, 28, 41, and technicals like 42 and 43. Segment 1, Part 2, Evidence. The Living Dummy is the most popular Goosebumps book ever written. It became so popular that it was the first book rewritten by R.L. Stine for the new Goosebumps series. Because of that, I'm not really going to go into the depth of this book. I'm just going to say that there's two siblings that are rivals, basically. They are twins. Chris and Lindsay. Lindsay finds a dummy that she names Slappy in a dumpster, and then Chris begs her father so much that one day he finally finds a dummy name, and then she names him Mr. Wood, who is actually the villain of this story, not Slappy. Issue 28. The Cuckoo Clock of Doom. Tara the Terrible is really how the back of the book explains her, so it doesn't really give you hope on how this book is going to be. Michael's life is miserable, because her parents think his sister can do no evil, and she's always ruining his life. So when their father brings home a cuckoo clock that he's been waiting for years, is practically given to him by the owner, because it has a defect. Remember that. That'll come back. After realizing that this is his father's most prized possession, and not his two kids, which is kind of a dick move, by the way, Michael realizes this is his way to get back at his sister, and decides to mess with the clock by reversing the head on it. That night, after that, he decides to go back to bed, and once he does that, he wakes up in the past. This keeps happening until when he's really little and decides to finally fix the clock. And when he finally gets back to modern day, his little sister isn't there. Michael's so confused by this. So he looks on the clock. The defect was that there wasn't 1988, 1998, or 2008. I don't remember. I don't want to read this book to remember. The only research I had to do for this series was names. Issue 41, Bad Hair Day, is a story about Tim, and all he wants is to be a big magician like his idol, Amazo. But his little sister keeps ruining his tricks by explaining how they happen. But one day, at his sanctuary, the magic store, he is given tickets to his idol's show, Amazo. And so is his friend. But because it's like a Friday or something, it's a school night, his friend won't be able to go. But Tim's gonna sneak out and see it. So, his friend gives him the ticket. Remember that. That night when sneaking out to see Amazo's show, Tim gets stopped by his little sister. And guess what? She's gonna make his life miserable. And if she doesn't get to go with to the show with him, she's going to call to their parents. So, he has to bring her. He has to see his idol. And unlike the episode where somebody lets him out of the basement after the trick goes terribly wrong, he actually has to break out. And once he does that, he goes to see Amazo after the show, backstage, just to find out Amazo is really an asso. Where was I? So, Timo decides to steal his bag of stuff. And inside this bag is a carrot that his little sister eats when they open it on a Saturday. Now, when she eats this carrot, she becomes a fucking rabbit. I'm not joking you. This literally happens in the story. So, after getting the manual and trying to figure out how to reverse it, well, they can't read it fast enough. The wind blows the manual into a fucking creek, where it gets soaked in mud. And when getting soaked in mud, it becomes illegible and unable to read. So they have to return to find Amazo, who is still at the fucking bunker. I don't know why, he just is. Now, because of this, they ask him what to do, where they find out he is also a rabbit, and the person that they saw was just a wooden dummy. Crazy, huh? Well, this is one of the books where the entire book is different than the episode. There is not a rival magician. He's a wooden dummy, and he decapitates the rabbit at the end of the story. And he decapitates Tim as a rabbit because he says Tim can join the act. Issue 42. This one is about a bratty little sibling named Brandy, who all they want is an egg hunt, which kind of makes sense because it's her birthday is in April. That's when Easter is, right? Yeah, it's like a week before or something. Anyway, instead of being a recreation of Jesus, she is a recreation of the devil and an annoying little sibling. And during this egg hunt, the main character, Dana? I don't know if it's a guy or a girl. I read the whole book twice and I still can't figure it out. Dana finds this weird egg, which she brings to a lab to find out it's an alien species. And once this thing hatches, it's a goop. And this goop is really friendly towards them. I don't know what gender they are. Anyway, the scientist is really pissed that she touches the goop earlier in the story and locks them in with this goop where they find out there's a lot more of this species and it is freezing inside the room and the goop can tell and just becomes a blanket. The next day or like a week later, they escape. The goop rolls on top of the scientist and he just vanishes. I think he died. I'm not sure. I really don't know. Because they get out of the building. We never find out what happens. When they call the cops to figure it out, he's not there. The scientist disappears. I think he was eaten by this goo. Why didn't the goo eat Dana? What the fuck is this book? I really don't know. Segment 3, Technicals. Segment 2, Technicals. 43 is a story about Ginger, Nat, and Pat, who were sent out by their parents to play, just to go out while they set up camp, because they're camping. And they decide to play hide and seek where either Nat or Pat disappears. I think it was Pat because Nat hides up in a tree. Obviously, if you read the book, that is his only thing. Pat's on a DS the whole time. I think it was a DS. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It's been too long since I've read this series. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so that's technical. Conclusion. So that's it. I wrote an entire script and then barely read any of it. So, if you actually watched this video, thank you. Goodbye. No, I didn't. I'm being sarcastic. The nerves it took. Oh my god, I'm still recording.